Today, organizers say at least 7 million Americans took to the streets protesting what many called an abuse of power by President Trump. House Speaker Mike Johnson called it, quote, the Hate America rally. Here in New York City, police say 100,000 people turned out at multiple marches. They report no arrests. There were more than 2,600 events from coast to coast. They are all part of the No Kings movement, which accuses the president of behaving more like a monarch than an elected official. CBS's Elise Preston in Los Angeles leads us off tonight. Elise.
Jerika, thousands have turned up here in downtown Los Angeles to express their fear and frustration with the administration. Their message, no monarchs in America.
I want to be able to tell my future children that I was here, that I stood on the right side of history.
The nationwide rallies are in response to what organizers call an abuse of power by President Trump, including his administration's crackdown on immigration and its threat to send the National Guard into cities, including Chicago and Portland.
The message is no kings. The message is the Constitution of the United States is a wonderful document that matters.
Republicans said the protests were nothing more than Hate America rallies.
I'm Torian Small in Washington, D.C. Before leaving the Hill this week, House Speaker Mike Johnson framed this rally as a Hate America event. Attendees disagreed.
We love America. We hate what they're trying to do to America.
Today's rally is taking place in big cities and small towns in every state.
I'm Allie Bauman in Morristown, New Jersey. Thousands attended today's rally 16 miles away from the president's New Jersey golf course. This county has deep roots in the nation's founding, known as the military capital of the American Revolution.
Our forefathers fought off kings and said no kings for the first time. So it is full circle.
Judy Kelly is one of the local organizers.
To defend democracy on this land, it does mean a lot to all of us who are working on it.
In Frisco, Texas, the protest was small but vocal.
I believe in democracy. I fought for democracy and sacrificed. And the things that are being done right now in this government are totally ridiculous.
In Europe, protesters were also small in numbers, but passionate outside the U.S. Embassy in London, in Paris and Berlin.
Being here in Germany, especially considering the history that's here, we have a unique perspective to look and say, that's not okay.
Ahead of today's protest, the governors of Virginia and Texas brought in the National Guard to handle any potential unrest in their state. Jerika, those protests have been largely peaceful. Same scene here in Los Angeles.
All right, Elise Preston reporting from Los Angeles tonight. Thank you.
So far, 2025 has been a year that has been plagued with a lot of protests in the United States. We've seen protests, the anti-ICE protests that took place throughout many cities in the United States, such as Chicago, New York, Portland, and in some level, it even became violence. And in June of 2025, we saw the No King protest that took place, and it's estimated around 5 million people took to the street to basically express their concern, their anger upon the authoritarian policy that's being taken place by President Donald Trump. And now, the No King protest is currently happening again. Last time, people took to the street because they did not like the policy and they thought it was more authoritarian. And they believe that he's trying to run this country as a monarchy, then it should be run as him being an elected official. When you look at countries such as North Korea, China, Russia, all these leaders are either authoritarian or dictatorship. And usually when it comes to their birthday, they will authorize the military to do a military parade, which is kind of impressive to watch because you see the military, how they're marching order, they're highly disciplined, and their parade is structured. It's pretty impressive when you watch those type of parade. But usually in the United States, they don't really do parade unless the president is sworn in. And the president authorizing or asking or ordering the military to do a parade on his birthday is kind of concerning for a lot of people. And most people are concerned because the president is making policy that could potentially look like he's trying to run this country as a monarch. This is why the No King protest started to basically resurrect again. because the last time it happened was in June, and now it's happening again. And people are afraid that he's trying to gain more authority, trying to gain more power, trying to gain more power among the people. And one example that I can think of is during the 12-day war between Israel and Iran, which the president, he authorized the military to go bomb a nuclear site, which was underground in Iran, and they dropped bomb. Some people say it was destroyed, others say it wasn't destroyed. The Iranian authorities say it wasn't damaged. They removed some of the uranium and some of the equipment and some of the personnel way ahead of time because the U.S. called them and told them that they're bombing it. But at the same time, just implementing that act alone could have potentially be an act of war. It's actually an act of war because the president made an order and he authorized the bombing of a nuclear site over a sovereign country. Because in the U.S. Constitution, it is said Congress has the only authority to declare war to another country. And another example is what's currently happening with Venezuela, which the president is looking to actually overthrow the sitting governor, the sitting president of Venezuela, Maduro. And a lot of people are concerned because now the U.S. Navy ship is all surrounding Venezuela. The Caribbean is all filled with American soldiers who are prepared to potentially invade Venezuela. And Congress has not given their approval to go to war with Venezuela. So a lot of Americans are sitting back looking at it like, hold on. So the president is declaring all this war. And when you look at American history, just 20 plus years ago, we went to war in the Middle East, which killed a lot of people. A lot of Americans were dead. A lot of Americans were coming back in body bags or coming back in casket. And a lot of parents were devastated. And America now, they don't want to go to war anymore. They don't want to deal with that. Because here in the United States, we have our own issue that's going on. We have an issue with inflation. We have an issue with high cost of living. We have an issue with unemployment. We have an issue with the job market. There's multiple things that's going on. And on top of that, we have around $37.8 trillion in debt. Now, all these people that was protesting against the administration, some of them supported them. Some of them are turning their back against them. Some of them are just doing it because they don't have nothing better to do. Some of them are doing it because they find out that, the decision that's being made will probably not have a benefit in their life. It will probably not even benefit them. It could potentially lead the country in a much deeper hole than it is. And a lot of people are afraid because keep in mind, the U.S. gained their independence from the U.K. because they were against the policies that was being made because of the monarch. And they wanted to be able to elect their own officials, their own president, who will basically do things for the interests of the people. And now President Donald Trump, he is making policies to the eyes of many people who are thinking, you know what, he's trying to be a king. He's trying to run this country as a monarch. He's trying to gain more power to be able to make decisions by himself without Congress, and it's concerning. And all this protest so far is peaceful because we have seen the anti-ICE protests that happen in many places in Chicago, Los Angeles, Portland, Oregon, in New York, which has become violence. And we see groups such as Antifa, an anti-fascist group that has infiltrated those type of protests to turn it violent. Now, these No King protests, this is only the second one. And the government has to be concerned because you got groups such as Antifa that could potentially also join in and turn these protests into a very violent protest, which a lot of people are just protesting because they're concerned about the policy and the authoritarian policy that's taking place when it comes to how much power the president has to be able to make decisions for the nation. Also, on top of that, these protests could potentially trigger even much more bigger things in the future because his critic, his opposition, and even people that don't like him, they could potentially use this opportunity to push their agenda, to make the president, to make the administration look like, they're really violent. Anything can happen because it's easier to manipulate those type of events. It's easier to manipulate those type of event that happen because, a certain group of people want to push their agenda. So I think that's one of my biggest concerns. But so far, this No King protest has been happening throughout major cities in the United States. And I'm pretty sure more protests like this will happen, and more group of people will start joining this type of protest. You will see people who are supporting the Palestinian movement will join in. You see people who are supporting the anti-ICE movement will join in, and many other groups that just don't like the Republican will join in. And before you know it, this protest will become something much more different than what it was. So it's much easier to be manipulated by a certain group of people. But let me know what you guys think in the comment. If you're new to my channel, please make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Till next time.